That's the kind of bear that just goes on a rampage.
The bear crushed the back of his head.
I felt him ripping meat off my head.
Have a look at that. This is bear country. And when a bear attacks someone around here, the people are panicked. The very idea of a bear attack scares people everywhere.
In the last 100 years in North America, there have been more than 100 fatal bear attacks. Was it just bad luck that these people were killed, or did the bears target their victims? I've studied animals as a zoologist, and I've worked with lions and tigers as a big cat trainer. And I was attacked by a lion that I trusted and worked with every day, so I know how things can change. Were these fatal bear attacks deliberate? Are some bears seeking us out and hunting us for food? I want to find out if there's such a thing as a rogue bear. And to do so, I need to understand the true nature of bears. I don't think a bear that kills by chance is rogue. But if it goes out of its way to recognize and kill a human being, that's definitely rogue. I know from experience that the only way to truly understand an animal is to spend time with it in the wild. And so, I'm going where the most horrific bear attacks took place, Katmai National Park, Alaska. With little human contact, plenty of food, and miles of remote park to roam, there's no doubt these bears are at their most wild. And yet, this is where self-described grizzly man Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend were killed and eaten by the bears he loved and sought to protect. Like Timothy, I plan to be alone with these bears, so I really have to know how to handle myself. I need to understand why bears attack.
I think it was nerve spray. Interesting the first time that I used it.
No one knows more about killer bears than Professor Stephen Herrero. He's spent a lifetime investigating bear attacks in North America.
How many bear attacks have there been in the last 100 years or so?
There have been about 90 different fatal attacks by grizzly bears and about half that number by black bears. But you have to remember that there's about 60,000 grizzly bears in North America and almost 1 million black bears. We see predatory attacks by both species of bears. It's the grizzly bears that are more dangerous, but we hear more about black bears largely because there's so many of the bears.
Black bears are found as far south as Florida and as far north as Alaska. Smaller than grizzlies, an adult male can weigh as much as 700 pounds and stand 5 feet tall. They'll eat almost anything, mostly nuts and berries. If they live near water, they'll catch fish, and they're predators, so they will kill animals for meat. Black bears tend to avoid people. They'd rather climb a tree. But both males and females can attack.
What is the procedure where you are now being attacked by a bear?
The first thing you have to do is make a quick call on whether the bear is trying to kill you and eat you, or whether the bear is just feeling stressed and attacking defensively. In a defensive bear attack, your best bet of minimizing injury is to play dead. On the other hand, with an offensive bear attack or a predatory attack, you have to fight that bear using anything you possibly can. A knife, a stick, a rock, the help of friends. All of those things have to combine to tell that bear you're not gonna be eaten.
On May 24th, 2005, Julia Gerlach was walking alone while tree planting in a remote region of northern Canada. She was stalked and viciously mauled by a black bear.
How often do you see bears in this area?
Never, because I have my brave dog with me.
Oh, yeah.
Now 28, Julia's a nursing student. Just a year after the attack, I spoke with her about her struggle and survival.
Part of my job is to walk along straight lines, so I was somewhat preoccupied with that. So then the next thing I remember is that I sort of looked around me like this, and there was the bear. I strongly suspect that he must have stalked me for some time, and that is kind of the scariest thing about it all, knowing that he was stalking me. As soon as I turned around and saw the bear, my first reaction was to talk to him, like intimidate him like you would to a dog, to like, bear, go away. I was already on the ground because he just did one big jump and luckily pushed me down on my belly. And because he was sitting right on top of me, I could hear his breathing, and he was like, he was breathing so hard. And the next thing I did was I tried to radio people. I didn't know how close they were, but I mean, I also screamed, and that's what my co-workers heard. I consciously felt him ripping like meat off the back of my head, like off my skull. And I thought, oh my God, if that's how I'm gonna die. Shortly after, I guess, my coworker arrived. And after the third shot, the bear finally ran away. 2/3 of the back of my head was removed down to the skull, so like hair and also the cushy part, the padding, and then also my right ear was removed. Lots of bite and scratch marks all over my upper legs and upper arms. In the end, I received 5 surgeries.
I understand that the animal was destroyed. How do you feel about that?
If I had any say in it, I would have definitely said, no, you don't have to destroy it, because he couldn't differentiate between humans and animals since he has never met one. And so I would have said, no, it's not necessary.
Julia was alone in a very remote area when she was attacked. The bear probably saw her as food. If it happened to her, could it happen to me when I'm alone with the bears in Alaska? Was Julia attacked by a rogue bear?
I wouldn't use the term rogue bear, but it's not totally inappropriate in my opinion. There are bears that all of a sudden the switch gets thrown. I guess how I define a rogue bear would be a bear whose behavior is highly unusual and directs a lot of aggression toward people.
Rogue, unusual behavior and aggression towards people. I'm hoping to experience unusual bear behavior with zero aggression. Lynn Rogers is one of America's most controversial bear biologists. He's been studying, collaring, and feeding wild black bears for 40 years.
Now, he's been called the Jane Goodall of the American black bear. Lynn suggests that the American black bear is completely misunderstood. He says it's absolutely a non-aggressive animal. Meeting an aggressive black bear, in his opinion, is like 1 chance in a million. So I guess while I'm here to meet his bears, I hope he's right.
Lynn's controversial because he breaks the rules. He feeds these bears and thinks nothing of getting close to wild bears. That puts me on edge. Julia's experience was horrific, and now I'm about to get close to these black bears myself. This goes against all the advice about interacting with bears.
This is a research project. It's an experiment. The usual idea that you hear is if a bear tastes human food, it's going to become addicted to it. It's going to forget how to forage naturally. Then they're going to become increasingly aggressive towards people to get that food, and then eventually become viewing the people as food and killing them in predatory attacks. There's just nothing to any of that I just said. Part of the experiment here is to see if bears that become very used to people get into more trouble. What we find is that right here, they trust us. 100 yards into the woods, they don't. If the bears have places to eat, then they don't go from house to house. They just go where the food is. Unless there's food in the woods, that is their preferred food.
Lynn is changing my opinion of the do's and don'ts around black bears. If it is the true nature of bears to attack humans, then what am I doing hand-feeding these black bears? This goes against everything I've learned about wild animals.
This is probably one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had in my life. I've been studying black bears since my undergraduate days, and everything that I thought I knew about black bears is sort of shifting now. What you're seeing is two mothers down here, one with two cubs, one with three. They're all talking with motions and noises rather than actually getting into any fighting. This little cub up here, although it's just small, is showing all the usual signs of real tension. It's up there, doesn't like what's happening down here on the ground with the two mothers fighting. Is the true nature of a bear very calm and relaxed, or is it, you know, that aggressive animal that everyone's so scared of?
I think they're characterized much more by restraint than ferocity. They're ruled by fear and food. For decades, it's been pounding into us ferocious stuff about bears that's not even close to right. In 39 years of really pushing the envelope with them, I've never had a bear come after me and hurt me.
What would you say then is the most dangerous black bear?
It's the one out of a million, and it could be a male, it could be a female that just goes in a rampage. And that's the kind of bear that just should be taken out.
I noticed
of the
you didn't even
population.
flinch there. We had a huge mother just huff, which scared the heck out of me.
Yeah.
I tell you, we're still in a wild situation with wild bears.
What you got to realize is that kind of noise that you just heard, explosive as it is, made me jump for years. And it just means the mother is nervous.
It means I'm nervous too.
I'm still skeptical. The bears seem to tolerate people when they're being fed. But what about in the wild? As a test, I'm gonna follow one of Lynn's radio-collared bears, Juliet. Will I be able to get close to her once I'm away from the research station?
Using everything I've learned over the past few days, you know, just reading the animal. When it's telling me it doesn't want me to come closer, I'm just standing by. And as it sort of relaxes with my presence, come forward. See how it works. It's just me being nice. I'm following black bears, wild black bears, armed only with a handful of nuts. I think I might be the nuts one. This is a female with two cubs over here. And, you know, that's supposedly the most aggressive situation. And yet I'm right in between the two, lying down on my side.
This is an amazing example to me of how good-natured a black bear can be. No rogues here.
This isn't something that everybody should be doing. It definitely is an interesting theory suggesting that if someone was to feed the bears, there'd be less instances of nuisance behavior. I'd love to see it tested a little bit more by people who know what they're doing with bears and see if it does reduce the number of nuisance instances, because less nuisance bears means less dead bears and probably means less fearful people.
Black bears will tolerate people a lot closer. They seem to be a lot more comfortable around people. Grizzly bears are creatures of open areas and on the ground. They're more inclined to stand and fight, and they're more inclined to not like people close to them.
Black bears might outnumber grizzly bears in North America, but the grizzly bear has attacked twice as many people. Grizzlies live in the remote forests and rugged mountain regions of the northern United States and western Canada. One of the largest living predators, an adult male can weigh as much as 1,000 pounds and stand close to 10 feet tall. Despite their size, they're fast. They can reach 35 miles per hour in a matter of seconds, and they're excellent swimmers, so we can't outrun or even outswim a grizzly bear. Their main diet is berries or fish, depending on where they live. But no matter where they live, they're predators. I plan to be alone with wild bears of Alaska as they fish for salmon in the fast-moving streams of Katmai National Park. If I can't outrun or outswim these bears, I better understand their behavior and signals. They've killed before, and I really don't plan to become another victim. I haven't spent much time around grizzly bears in the wild, and before I do, I have to understand more about their behavior and their warning signals. I really need to know what a grizzly looks like just before it launches an attack.
And for me to answer that question, I've got to go and find people that know bears, people that are living with them, people that are working with them.
Good morning, big guy. Come on, Adam. Go ahead, just tease him back in. Come on. That's a good boy.
The first person I thought of was Troy Hyde of Animals of Montana and his grizzly bear Adam.
It's all right. They're nuts.
Troy's been training large predators as performers in films, TV, and photographs for more than 20 years.
That's a good boy.
I've worked with Adam before, and if I'm going to get one-on-one with a grizzly,
Hey, buddy.
he's the one.
You remember me? How big's Adam now?
Adam's about 550 pounds.
Yeah.
And he's 6 years old.
And I see he's obviously still good with people he doesn't know real well. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen him, and he's still pretty relaxed with me.
Yeah, he's pretty relaxed. I think he's more so relaxed with you just because of the amount of time that you have worked with him.
Yeah, so he remembers that?
Yeah, I think they have a pretty good memory system, and
Yeah.
based on smell and sound and all that.
Adam. And marshmallows.
And marshmallows.
You expect a bear to be big, but I gotta square myself up just to take on that little bit of weight that Adam's putting on me. If you have a look at these claws, have a look. I mean, I'm not a small guy at all, but have a look there. I mean, those are as big as my fingers. And his bicep is that big, bigger than my head. I'm 6'3", 215 pounds. So, I mean, I thought I was at least a good-sized human being, and he is huge. If you're looking at those teeth as tools for this grizzly bear, he's obviously going to use them as he's getting food for like an elk cart or something. Have a look at that. If he is attacking a human being, this is an attack situation, those things are going to put holes 3-4 inches deep into flesh. What are the beginning stages of a little bit of stress, you got to avoid it, and, you know, ending stages of get out of there, Dave?
First thing that I usually see is white fleck around his mouth. The heavier that fleck, the more stressed that he's becoming. Probably the worst one that you could encounter without an attack would be stiff-legged, squared off to you, coming at you with his ears back. For the most part, bears give off lots of warnings,
Right.
and that's going to be about your last warning.
My comfort level with Adam has a lot to do with the fact that Troy is always with me. This time, I'm risking a close encounter with Adam alone.
So you really got to pay attention to everything the bear is doing before you say, oh, well, I read somewhere that means he's aggressive. Because if I'm 8 feet from him and on my knees, he's definitely not aggressive. You know, if I am in the wild in Alaska and I see, you know, this situation where right now it's calm, it can change quick. So, you know, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I've got nowhere to go. Can't outrun them. Can't climb a tree. You know, there is no safety net for me. So I've got to really pay attention to what Troy tells me. And you know, so if he did, you know, okay, now he's looking at me, something aggressive. I don't like what I'm seeing. That's when I'm gonna, you know, choose where I back up. If I'm retreating this way, bear's calming down. I'm doing the right thing. The one thing I have to remember is this is Adam. In Alaska, I'm not gonna have Troy to come and save me from a grizzly bear.
Being with Adam gives me an idea of what to expect from wild grizzly bears. But next, I'm gonna find out what happened to a young woman who thought she knew what to do around a wild grizzly. Only this one was rogue.
I think I saw the bear first. He was like coming after us.
Go on, bear, get out of here!
I'm in Canmore, Alberta, the bear-human interaction capital of Canada. Up there, they're considered wild grizzlies. As soon as they come down here in the valley, they're labeled a nuisance and considered dangerous.
Hey, bear, go on! Go on, bear, get out of here!
It's always dangerous when people and bears share the same space. It's impossible to teach all the people to be bear smart. So in Canmore, they're trying to scare the bears away from town. They're trying a kind of bear aversion therapy using Karelian bear dogs.
In this particular area here in the Bow Valley and Kananaskis country, we basically have got grizzly bears that are very, very indifferent to people. So we're trying to see if we can get bears to stop coming into developments because it's a public safety concern.
Yep.
And there's a direct relationship between human-caused bear mortality and bears interacting with people.
Yeah, he's eating.
Hey, Bear! Hey, Bear! Hey, Bear! Come on, get out of here, Bear! Get out of here, Bear! Come on, get out of here!
The bear was over here, was in a place, he wasn't minding the people. The people were sitting here viewing him, didn't like that, he wants to create a buffer. So he's yelling, the dog in the back still barking, and then he fired that little flare pop gun that goes sort of towards him, and then boom, makes a big noise. Animal goes away. Basically hoping that the bear says, people are bad, give him some more space.
Looks like the bear we scared off earlier in the day has returned and joined up with a friend.
So she's basically on this axis right here.
Yep.
If we get a bear in any of these red areas, they have to get moved out.
Yep.
Karelian bear dogs are a Finnish breed of bear hunter. When a bear is spotted, the team reacts. The leash dogs bark, the handlers yell, they fire off bear bangers. All designed to teach the bears to stay away from anything related to people.
It's pretty chaotic. And then the gun goes off, it's loud. You know, you can understand why they get all amped up. Everybody gets all amped up, and, you know, it's negative reinforcement with these bears. And yet, no bear has to die. You know, no people are getting hurt. You know, it's actually a really sort of like a low-impact means of managing your bear population.
But no matter what's done, around here, there's still a chance of crossing the path of a rogue bear.
In 2005, 3 women joggers set out on one of these trails. They encountered a grizzly bear. 2 women survived, and 1, Isabelle Dubé, did not.
Confronted by the aggressive grizzly, Isabelle chose to climb a tree. A fatal decision. "36-year-old Isabelle Dubé was a competitive athlete, loving wife, and mother. Her death was shocking because of the lengths the bear went to attack her. Her friends Jean and Marie, who were jogging with her, and her husband Heath, walked me through the events.
I was running in front. Yeah. And I think I saw the bear first. And he was quite a ways down the trail around the corner. And I said, "Stop, bear," or something like that. And we stopped, and I said, "Back up." And as we backed up, he approached us. He was like coming after us. And as we backed up, Isabelle was beside a really sturdy tree. She really wanted to climb a tree.
Yeah,
She's like,
she said, "Come on, you guys, climb a tree. Find a tree." She went up that tree, and then we backed
We continued to back up,
sort of past her.
and when we could no longer see the bear, we turned and ran up around like the next corner.
Yeah, the next switchback. So now we're up above. We're here. The tree is here. I remember thinking, oh well, Isabel's going up a tree. The bear could be coming after us because he's not going to want to go up there.
We didn't really know where the bear was.
We didn't know. Yeah.
Until we heard her scream.
Grizzlies typically don't climb, and this accident was actually the highest recorded climb that a grizzly bear has ever accomplished.
You guys do something differently now that you're in the bush? It seems like you guys still use these trails, yeah?
I haven't mountain biked very much in the last 2 years.
And now I always carry bear spray, and I would never do a big bike ride on my own.
If you're going to go out into bear country, you should believe that bears are inherently dangerous, whether they are or not. I think that there's always a risk that's there, and you need to take every necessary precaution.
This bear climbed more than 30 feet to kill Isabelle Dubé. If that's not unusual behavior for a grizzly, I don't know what is. In my mind, that's a rogue bear. The Kenai Peninsula in Alaska is a pristine wilderness. It's ideal for those who love the great outdoors. It's also a hot spot for bear attacks.
On a beautiful spring day, Ken Cates was hiking through these very same woods. Two things he didn't know when he stopped for lunch. The first was a very large grizzly bear was following right behind him. The second was he was preparing his very last meal.
Ken Cates' death is a mystery. He was an avid outdoorsman and familiar with his trail, but not even his loaded rifle could save his life during the fatal attack. I hiked to the scene with Ted Spraker, a retired bear biologist who was part of the original investigation, and Jim Oldersdorf, a local photographer and writer who researched the attack.
Was Ken found consumed or just killed?
One bite to the back of his head. That was it.
You know, the bear literally crushed the back of his head. And for a bear to do that, it has to be a large bear.
This wasn't somebody who was a neophyte that just decided to come down a trail and have a nice little lunch, boil his water, and end up dead. He was extremely well seasoned as an Alaskan.
There was a great big log right here that Ken Cates was sitting on, cooking his lunch. Down the trail several hundred yards, we had brown bear tracks. As the bear approached this campsite, the bear moved off into the trees, moved off of the trail, and then came in through here someplace.
One thing was for sure, the bear knew this man was here.
Ken was cooking on a little pack stove. And out here where it's just deathly quiet, a bear walking down the trail, all of a sudden he hears this hissing sound in the brush that probably spurred his curiosity.
What's the thought of what happened there? Obviously his back's here, the stove's there.
He fired off a warning shot to the bear. And of course, every bear's got a highly different personality than the other, and it may have motivated that bear to make the attack because a second shot hit that bear.
Is there such a thing as a rogue grizzly bear?
In this case, there's no doubt. This bear was not a good bear.
There's a myth that's been going around forever about grizzlies and brown bears that, you know, once they've killed a human and tasted human flesh, that they become a rogue bear. I think it's just a situation where, you know, wrong place, wrong time.
On average, there are 5 bear maulings a year in this part of Alaska. But few of them are as horrific as the attack that took place in my next destination.
Waiting for Willie, our bush pilot, who's going to take me to a boat that's going to take me around Katmai National Park. How are you, Dave Salmoni?
Good to meet you, Willie Folk. Leave your pack right there in the middle row.
Okay.
Climb up to the right front seat. I'm going to drive.
Is there any code of conduct?
Yeah, just don't touch anything.
My flight to the park has an ironic twist. Willie is more than just my pilot. He was also a friend and pilot to Timothy Treadwell on his trips to Katmai. Timothy spent 13 summers in the park and made it his mission to study and protect these bears. Willie was scheduled to pick up Timothy and his girlfriend Amy Huguenard one cold, rainy October morning. Willie's gruesome discovery was that sometime in the previous night, Timothy and Amy had been killed and eaten by a bear. It's beautiful, but it's impossible not to be apprehensive as I arrive in the park. Because this is where I'm going to get face to face with the wildest wild grizzlies. This is where I finally get to put all I've learned into practice. Katmai National Park. It looks magnificent, peaceful, but the potential for danger is real. This is where Timothy Treadwell was killed.
First thing in the morning, we're going to float in there and try and get a little closer. I'm definitely far more excited than I am nervous. We'll see if that changes tomorrow.
real slick.
One step closer to going one-on-one with wild grizzly bears. Biologist Brad Josephs has been studying these bears for a decade, and he's going to show me what to do.
This looks like a good spot here. Okay. Bears don't like to be approached, so if you want to get close to bears, you need to get where they're going to be, get there first.
So like here?
These are bears in their natural state. Once they've figured out something's non-threatening, then they are totally willing to get along with people. When people make mistakes and are irresponsible and don't use respect, common sense, problems can happen.
Man, these guys are going for it.
Yeah, they really are, and they're doing well, too.
That's so quick, just boom.
No, it's lightning fast, yeah. They're very explosive animals. A lot of times they move slow and they look slow and awkward, but they move that way to conserve energy so they don't get overheated. But when they want to move, they definitely can. They're very fast.
The speed, the power, and the aggression of these bears is amazing. I can see why even armed people like Ken Cates can be overwhelmed and killed so quickly. I'm really going to have to watch out for those warning signs of aggression or an impending attack.
He is huge. He's looking at his buddy upstream trying to steal his fish. Oh, here comes his buddy. His buddy just came in, tried to chase him off his fish. He squared up. Look at the stiff legs. That's exactly what Troy was talking about. He went over here, turned side, and stiffened his legs up, looked back at him. He gave that noise. And that's him saying, listen, I'll fight for this fish.
When it comes to bears preying on other bears, it happens a lot in October when the fish run out, the bears are still in hyperphagia. And it's not all bears will do it. Most of the bears are peaceful.
It was in October 2003 that these normally peaceful and tolerant grizzlies did the unspeakable, killing and consuming Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard. Early the next morning, I'm having trouble getting started. I know this is going to be a tough day. John Rogers, our captain, knew Timothy, and he's agreed to take me to his last campsite. Kaflia Bay is where Timothy spent 13 summers researching and filming bears, and ultimately, where he was killed. It's a long hike through streams, small lakes, and heavy underbrush that Timothy liked to call the Grizzly Maze.
Any bear in the area can hear us coming now, which is what we want.
It's hard going through here, and that's the way Timothy wanted it. It was a private place for him to live and observe his bears.
So, John, why is this stream or this falls important to the Treadwell story?
This is where he spent a lot of his time. This is where he got to know the bears.
So that's a sow with a spring cub. Two
Two
cubs.
of them. Look at that. He considered this area his kingdom, I guess. There was less traffic up here. He was out of sight of the rangers, close to the bears, and that's where he wanted to be.
It is the old bear, one who is struggling for survival, and an aggressive one at that, who is the one that you must be very careful of. For these are the bears that on occasion do, for survival, kill and eat humans.
Look how she flips those huge rocks over without even trying. Look at that.
She's kind of hoping to stir up the salmon.
Okay.
Look at there,
Oh,
she got one.
She got one. Check that out.
You know, it's easy to think that they're harmless when you see them like this.
Yeah.
But you see her flipping those rocks. Imagine if she just reached out and slapped you.
Let me tell you, honestly, camping in grizzly country is dangerous. People who camp in grizzly country should camp out in the open to let the bears know where the tent is.
my camp is unseen.
You knew him and interacted with him probably as much as or more than anybody else up here. Why did Timothy end up, after 13 years, losing his life to one of these bears?
Well, an obvious one is a choice of campsite. Give you about a 30-knot wind, a rainstorm, and damn near dark.
Yeah.
And stick yourself in there. Try and imagine that.
It's near a bear corridor. There's the bear highway just over the bushes here, so you're going to get a heavy traffic of these bears, and they'll smell Timothy's camp. Every bear that comes in here is going to walk right past it, just on the other side. The bear was investigating his food cache.
Timothy's food cache.
Yeah. And may just have reacted a little bit too aggressively, and that bear probably was defending what he thought was a little food source. So.
And then it was after that they decided to eat him, or it might not even been the same bear that decided to eat him.
Good, yeah, and who knows? Grizzlies rarely, if ever, attack predatory attack, but attacks can turn predatory once they've already occurred, and it's just because a grizzly is an opportunistic predator, and once it starts happening, it can go that direction.
Hey, bears, come through.
I've been through a lot to get to this moment, and I feel prepared. But have I prepared enough? Because next, I go face to face with grizzly bears, alone.
Here at Hallow Bay, where Brad's gonna let me alone with his grizzly bears. I'm excited for it, but, I'm hoping that I've learned enough to do it safely. Looks like he's gonna give me a bit of time. He's having a little nap as the tide goes out. All right, thanks, Brad.
Oh, thank you. No problem.
Well, those for me?
Yeah, just in case you need them.
All right.
But remember, you got the knowledge. Use the respect and common sense, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Enjoy yourself.
Thanks very much.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
This is the moment I've been waiting for, and fearing at the same time. I'm alone in grizzly territory, testing the true nature of these bears. I'm not sure if the bears will ignore me or attack. The Treadwell story says one thing. My time in the park so far says another. Because this is a national park, the rules state you can't carry a gun for protection, and you can't get any closer than 50 yards to the bears. But these rules are for people. Around here, bears have their own rules.
Oh, that's cool. It's interesting just watching the dynamics between the two. All kinds of discussions and, somewhat aggression, but no real contact. It's great. I really think I've learned about the nature of grizzly bears. Sitting out here by myself, I realize that these truly wild bears that have had no negative intentions towards me, it's mostly because they've had no negative experiences from human beings. It's definitely a mutual trust. And I think that's really positive for those of us that want to find ways in which human beings and grizzly bears are going to share the same space. That bear swam across and sort of pushed another bear out of its bed for no apparent reason, then came straight over here. But definitely, what Brad was telling me, just read the animal. And nothing sort of read that he was being aggressive to me. So I was just getting ready to clap my hands and tell him to go away if he started coming towards me or stiffen up or show me any aggression signs. But even though he was aggressive with other bears, I guess didn't mean he was going to be aggressive with me. He kind of gave me a glance and carried on. Thank goodness I paid attention. He's definitely testing. He's been walking straight at me from over there. He's walking close. I think if he starts turning towards me, I might give him a little shout. No, bear. No, bear. No. I don't know if I
should have done that. He was walking away, but he just started to turn that corner a little bit too tightly, and Brad was telling me that's what you see. He turns, and then he just, he had me on the side of the eye, like when Troy told me, he just sort of glance at you. I can't say I like that. I had a good day today. That Timothy Treadwell story sort of hit home for me. I've always felt I understood him. He loved these animals and he wanted to spend time with them. And I mean, that's what I've been doing most of my life. And he was eaten finally by the animals that he loved, and I don't really think anybody deserves that. And I sort of hope that that doesn't happen to me, so when I think of that, I try to reflect on myself and hope that no one sort of points a finger and says, yeah, Dave was crazy, I expected that from him as well.
So is there such a thing as a rogue bear? Are some bears deliberate human killers? I've just spent a lot of time with bears, and I don't believe it's their true nature to be dangerous to us. But is there a bear that will go out of its way to hunt down and kill a human being? I only have to think of Ken Cates, Isabelle Dubé, Timothy Treadwell, and I know, oh yeah, there's a rogue bear out there.